3D8 wheel and fender liners. So this is kind of an important topic. If you guys are going to actually try to remove the fender or remove a bumper, these pieces are all attached to those. I'm going to give everyone a little bit of time to file in here. I'm going to set up my chat for you guys. So every stream I usually got to go in and set up chat and do all this good fun stuff for you guys so I can see everything that's going on. Welcome everybody to this Saturday Live. And we do have our producer in today. So anyone from the wrench squad, make sure you guys chat in. I'd like to know when my wrench people are here. Bill, good morning to you too. I think it's closer to afternoon here, but awesome to have my mod squad in today. You guys, today's topic is going to be on wheel liners, fender liners, and these are important pieces that we have to remove anytime we're going to do a bumper or a fender repair. So these are tied to other pieces. I could have easily put these together, but I wanted to make sure that we took the time and I showed you guys what was going on. But yes, we'll give everyone a little bit more time to file in here, and then we're going to get going on today's topic. And today we actually have a couple projects going on in here today, guys. So not only do we have our Malibu here, but we also have a full service that we're doing on champagne bubbles. So it's important for us to get this one done. We need that vehicle. So I'm going to be getting that one ready to go here. And I can do a rundown if you guys want. We'll see how the chat goes here. I'll ask that question later on if you guys want me to include you in on that full service, or if you guys just want little sneak peeks. But today's main topic is going to be this fender liner and the pieces for the air box down here. So you guys see the air box hanging loose right here. We're going to be mounting that once we get our fender liners put in. Oh. All right, starting to get some people in. Make sure you guys hit that like button and subscribe button. And let's go ahead and get into today's topic a little bit. So usually I start off every video, guys, with a quick little rundown of what we're looking at for today so that you guys have an understanding of what we're doing before we get into it. And I try to give you guys the information that's related to what we're doing. So today we want to get our liners put in here. There's a shield that goes over the motor. This one will kind of help keep things out of that serpentine belt. We don't want anything getting caught in there. It could actually tear up the front side of the motor. It could damage pulleys. So putting that shield back on is really, really, really important. And that's this one right here. So we're going to be getting this one slapped into place. There's a couple of fixtures of mounting points that I have to pay attention to when I put this in. And I also have to pay attention to the direction that it's requiring me to place it to put it in. So we're going to definitely get this lined up and get it put in there. I see 8 of you guys in there. Thank you for tuning in on this Saturday Live. Today we're working on our Malibu steel project. We're going to go ahead and get our fender liners put in. So why do we need the fender liners? Well, some vehicles have wiring in here. Some vehicles have computers in here. Some even have like AC lines or coolant lines in here. So if we don't have that protection in there, every time the tire's spinning, it's throwing stuff off of the tire, whether it be rocks, snow, mud, you name it. Anything that can get caught on the tire will get thrown up into this general area. Without having these shields here, what will happen is you'll damage the components in here. Now, the reason why we have to always replace our struts, that's some of the reason. Our struts are exposed. Our fender liners don't cover our struts. It's the way the suspension system was designed, unfortunately. We have to deal with that, meaning that those are items that are basic maintenance items. Shocks and struts are basic maintenance items. Wheel bearings are basic maintenance items. And so are brakes. All of those are exposed. So they're not covered up by a shielding unless you're doing an off-road application that allows you to bolt an additional shield onto them. But most of the time, those components are exposed. Where we don't want to have exposure is on any AC lines, on anything related to the serpentine belt on the system. We don't want to get mud, dirt, and debris inside the front of the engine. It can tear up everything. It'll tear up an alternator, it'll tear up pulleys, tear up the belt, and it'll do a lot of damage in a real short period of time. So that's why our shields are important. Where do they connect to? Well, I can tell you the big one here that goes on the wheel liner itself attaches to a couple of different pieces that are attached to the front bumper. The reason that they have that there is not only to provide bumper support, but it's also designed to help keep things from getting up in here. So when we have this mounted, this is the snorkel for our air intake tube going into our engine. If this isn't covered properly and we start throwing a bunch of mud, dirt, and debris, it could get sucked into here, and then the only defense we have is our air filter. Yeah, that's a really important thing to make sure our air filters stay good, but we can alleviate a lot of problems by making sure this isn't fully exposed. And by making sure that it's not fully exposed, we can kind of protect it. At the same time, if you're doing a racing application, you're going to want that exposed because you want it to pull air freely without a restriction. But on a street car, that's a different case. On a race car, oftentimes you're not running in the rain, you're not running in adverse weather conditions. So you can do crazy things like that on a race car. Doing it on a street car is not advised because it will suck water in and you can get something called hydrolocking. If your engine hydrolocks for any reason, you will be putting a new engine in it. Ugh. All right. Just checking camera location and chat while I'm doing this, guys. Awesome. We got 3 likes, 2 people in here. Hopefully we can get the viewership up. There we go. Now we got 4 in here. Guys, make sure you hit the like button. We're trying to keep engagement high. We're trying to rebuild after a very controversial topic last week. On Sunday, I did a special. That special brought some attention to the channel, and it was attention from outside of my subscriber base. That being said, we're going to try to tone it down this week. I'm not going to try to hit any keywords. I'm going to keep it mainly to the repair itself. So if you guys want to chat anything down below, go ahead. I do have my producer in here, which means my producer is in my ear as well. So I can hear kind of what's going on, guys. So feel free to chat in. And we're going to go ahead and get started on this topic for today. So now that I've explained the reason for this, let's go ahead and secure our first piece of our liner. Now, this will have some challenges as we go because I don't necessarily remember all the components of how they were placed in here. So I do have to kind of do a little bit of a trial and error thing to get everything lined up. Some of these line up really nice, other ones not so much. And you always got to check the fitment by moving around. making sure that you got everything lined up where it needs to be. So this was the only one that was a plus size clip. Because of this, I wanted to make sure this one went in first on the bottom side of this shield. And it went in right down here. So I wanted to make sure that I got this one in first before I got carried away with all the rest of the stuff. Okay, so now that I got that one in there, I'm going to go grab a bag of clips. I'll be right back, guys. Make sure you guys hit the like and subscribe, guys. All right, so here is our little Christmas tree clips. These things work great for securing plastic on plastic. We don't want to use this to secure metal on metal. These are not strong enough. We have to use an actual fastener for those. Anytime we're attaching a bumper, you will find some of these in there, but there will be bolts as well. Make sure you put the bolts back where they belong, because that is part of the securement and some of the integral strength of that bumper. So when we don't put those fasteners back in there, the bumper doesn't have the strength that it needs to withstand like wind blowing against it, or if you accidentally bump something, it changes the structure and the strength of it. So we always want to make sure we put the right stuff back in it as we assemble this. And we do have a few clips here, but before I get super carried away, it's always a good idea to pre-fit some of your stuff. So it's a good idea for me to just kind of set this up here, see where some of the mounting points and stuff are, so that I know exactly which ones I need to leave out for the time being. Right now I can put this one in here. Okay. This one I have to leave out because that is connected to this tab right here. So I will have to leave that one out for the time being. And then if I look on the bottom side right here, I'm going to have two more. I'm going to have one here and one up here. Those are going to get mounted in right up underneath where this air duct is. So I'm going to wait to put those in, but I can put in all the rest that are underneath. That would allow me to secure this into place. Okay, so we're going to pull out a few more clips here. Guys, there's 13 of you in here. Thank you for joining me on this Saturday. We do this every Saturday at 1 p.m. Central. New topic every week. Make sure you guys are hitting the like button and subscribe button. It really does help build the channel. We're trying to do some merch for you guys later on this year. So we're working on that behind the scenes to get that up and going. So any engagement we can get now will help build the channel. So that's what we're trying to do this year. We're really trying to grow this so we can do a lot more for you guys. So we're going to move to one other spot here where we have a clip. And this is a prime example of why you can use plastic on plastic clips, because we have a spot right here and it's actually attached to this piece that we did the plastic weld on. If you guys are ever wondering how to do plastic welding, that was a great video to show you guys how to do plastic welding. Okay, so now that we got that, now we're going to move down below and we're going to snag a couple more of these guys. If you guys got any questions, chat them in down below. And I will read them on screen for you guys. I'm here to visit. May not be able to join the stream again, depending on how long it will, because I'm going shopping. Yeah, guys, I'm not trying to go super long today. I do have some other things I would like to do today, but if you guys got stuff that you want me to bring up or talk about, we can get into that. Today's topic is pretty basic, but feel free to chat in, guys. I like reading your chats on screen. Again, we also have that oil change service going on Champagne Bubbles over there. So if you guys want information on that, you guys can chat in on that. So remember, we got to leave this one out because we got that liner going. Okay, oh, we got one here from Mike. Okay, so the channel, we mainly do automotive content here for you guys. We do teardowns, rebuilds, do a bunch of different stuff related to automotive, detailing, maintenance, repair, replace parts if need be. It's kind of an all general automotive stuff. I do get into a little bit of politics stuff when it involves the automotive industry. So if there's something that is really a big hot topic and it's starting to reach political news, I do cover some of that stuff towards the tail end of all of my shows. So if you guys are wanting to check out the news stuff, that's usually towards the tail end. Last week I did one, and I don't want to get into it too much because they really kind of punished me for bringing that topic up. But we did one on the e-torque, guys. And that's all I really want to say about that, because I really don't want the stream to kind of go sideways on that topic. But if you guys check that out, I cover everything that's going on with the e-torque currently. So that was a special that we did on Sunday. Normally we go live every Saturday at 1 p.m. Central with a new topic every week. This week we're doing liners. So the important thing is we want to get this car back on the ground. In order for us to do that, we got to get this liner put back in, and we need to get our air box put back together. So part of that is making sure that we got everything that we need to put it back together and then get this thing back on the ground. We will have a tire video coming for you guys in the near future because this thing needs tires. And you guys will see that. Usually I'll post stuff on Facebook and Instagram. I do that stuff usually on Thursdays. So I put out a reel so you guys get a sneak peek of what's coming. And then I'll always set my stream up a little bit beforehand on YouTube on Saturday morning so you guys know that we're going live that day. And I see Mike says, cool. Jay says, it's fine. I can join the stream full time next week. Jay, to bring this up, because you brought it up for us, next week I'm probably going to take the week off. Just so you guys know, I have a bunch of stuff going on and it's a really important weekend for me. And trying to stream and do everything I need to do with the situations I got going, it's not a good idea. But I will be back the following week and I will have a new topic ready to go. So I've already got that all planned out. You guys have asked for me to break down the cash for clunkers thing. So I'm also doing a little bit of homework on that because I want what I bring you, I want you guys to know that it's 100% accurate. I don't want to bring partial or bits and pieces or speculated information on that cash for clunkers stuff that we went through. I will be using some code language in that one to not cause problems on the YouTube side. So just know that I will be doing that video as well. And it was a big, big deal. So far from what I found, you guys don't even know the half of what happened with that situation. So it's really important that we peel back the layers. I tell you guys everything that happened in that situation so that you guys have a better understanding for the future. And there's something going on that we should really be paying attention to, the lessons that we learned during that one, and make sure we don't fall for it again here in the near future. And I will drop that info in that video towards the tail end of that one, because that kind of gets into a future problem that we're going to have. But let's continue on with this. Guys, if you got anything, chat it in down below. We'll read it on screen, and we'll see if we can help you guys with your project, or you can chat with anyone down below. My mods are here. Guys, my mods are awesome. I love having my mods here. They rock. They really do help you get information. They always want to chat with you, so feel free to ask them any question, me any question, and we will help you guys out. P. Norton, another one of my wrench squad members. Guys, I always like to shout out my wrench squad guys. It's good to see you guys in here on this Saturday. Trying to find a good angle here. All right, this one's going to be a little tucked behind. Actually, there's two of them that are tucked behind here, guys. So I'll put these in quick, and then I'll show you where these are located. Cheeto says, where did I get my chain? This was actually a gift from my wife. And it does have a lot of symbolism to me. It does mean a lot to me. And because of that, I do like having it. I also have incorporated it into my logo, if you guys haven't been able to tell. This is some of the merch we're working on for the future. Now, what I'm wearing is show purpose right now. That's why it's highlighted like this, so you guys can read it real easy on camera. The real merch will not have this block on it. It'll just be the lettering that'll be in white. You won't see the white block. So we are working on that. The logo will obviously be on the hat. Ooh, we have a P. Norton has become a member of the channel. Guys, everyone, we want to thank P. Norton for becoming a member to the channel. This is awesome. I love shouting out any members who chime in. Thank you so much for becoming a member of the channel. So as we get more members, guys, I'm going to drop members only stuff. Now that P. Norton is a member full-time, I'm going to go ahead and start dropping whatever I do on my Instagram and my Facebook. I'm going to put out information about the upcoming week on my members only. I didn't want to do it until I had members only, but now that I do, I'm definitely going to get that out for you guys so that you have that. Okay. I'm going to get you guys down. I want to show you guys where these other two clips were quick. But again, everyone, give P. Norton 75 a shout out. He has become a member of the channel. All right, so tripod's a little glitchy, but down here we have two more clips. So we have one here and one here. So these two, this one, the large push clip, right. Where are you hiding? Right here was that large push clip. And then we had another Christmas tree right here. Those are what holds that little inner piece on. It's not a lot, guys. When it comes down to it, honestly, a lot of this plastic stuff is barely held on your vehicle. That's why if you ever hit an animal on the road or you hit road debris, it just absolutely shatters this plastic stuff. Oftentimes you'll have to replace it because, like I said, if there's wiring or a computer or any AC lines that run through here, you don't want that stuff exposed, and you don't want to have that plastic rubbing on that stuff because it can tear everything up. It's better to get it fixed than it is to just keep driving it the way it is. The whole point of us doing car repairs is to make our vehicles last longer. Because honestly, what's coming at us next is not really good vehicles. They're trash. They're cheaply made. There's not very much quality put into it. And oftentimes it comes back as you have to fix a bunch of extra stuff that you shouldn't have had to fix because the dealer decided to take a shortcut. And I don't want to say dealer because technically it's not the dealer, it's the manufacturer. The dealer is the one who eats the issues, but they also charge a hefty penny to fix it when stuff does break. So that's some of the bigger issue that we have whenever we're buying newer vehicles. Now this is a 2012. Our other one over here is a 2020 Kia Soul EX. And that Kia is having engine problems, ladies and gentlemen. That engine trouble that we're having with that one is it is consuming oil. I'm going to look into a few things, see if I can figure out where the glitch is and why it's doing it. Those things are notorious for having bad piston rings. If that's the case, I have to keep going through the Kia program in order to figure it all out. So some of the issue that we're going to have in the future is figuring out where warranty is going to kick in so we don't have to eat the cost. So guys, there's 45 of you guys in here. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We're really trying to grow this channel. We really want to bring merch to you guys. My mods are awesome. You guys can chat with any of my mods down below. They will help you guys out. And yeah, let's just keep rolling on this project. One of our main things is going to be getting this liner in here now. So now that we've got the inner piece in that protects the engine, now we need to lay in the fender liner that protects the inner side of the fender to the inner side of the frame. On some vehicles, there's wire harnesses up inside your fender. And if you don't cover this, what happens is it throws all that debris up in there and it can get into the wiring harness and do a lot of damage. So to prevent that, we're going to start by putting some of the clips in it. Now, we do have two little screws to put in down here on our bottom part of our fender. This is the screws that kind of support and cradle it in there so that it stays tight and the wind doesn't grab it. But we can get some of the minor stuff put in and just get this put up into place. So I'm going to grab a couple of Christmas trees out. So we have a couple of liners in here, and I'm going to pay attention to where these are. Okay, so there's one clip that was removed that I didn't need to remove. I want to show you guys this, so if you guys are working on your own project, you'll know not to remove this clip if you need to remove this liner for the bumper. So in here, right here, there's a plastic clip. You don't need to remove this one because it doesn't have an impact on the liner. So I'm going to put a new clip in here like so. All right, now that this one's in, I'm just double checking to see if there's any others that I'm missing. And if I'm not, okay, we're good. Now we can go ahead and put our liner in, guys. Oh, got a couple of chats here. I'm going to get caught up with you guys quick before we slap this liner in. Guys, Aim High is my producer. So that's who helps me with chats when I'm in the middle of projects. Just so you guys know, P. Norton is a longtime subscriber and now the first member to our channel. So everyone welcome him. I'm just checking over chats here. Yeah, carpenter bees are not fun, guys. Sorry to hear about that, Mike. Hopefully you didn't get stung too bad. P. Norton brought up one. Flashing brake lights for hundreds of dollars is one of the biggest rip-offs the dealers have thought of. Yeah, guys, anytime we got to reflash something, I can give you guys a good example of this. Let's say you want to put a new battery in your car. The fact that you have to flash that battery to the computer is a joke. We should never have to do that. That was an extra layer put into the computer for absolutely no reason. And this is some of the topic of what I brought up last Sunday, was the proprietary technology that they're using to get away with doing things to vehicles that forces you to bring it back to a dealership because they have proprietary technology, meaning they don't want to release it to the public. I've always hated this policy, and because of it, oftentimes I wind up running manufacturers and dealerships up the wall when I make some of my lives, because I hate the way they do that. It should never be that way. We should be able to work on our own cars with basic hand tools. We should never have to have stuff that's so sophisticated that we can't figure it out. And honestly, most cars have gotten to that point now. Without a high-powered scanner or a scan tool, you can't figure out what's wrong with these cars. And even some of those don't tell you exactly what's going on. A video I did probably about 2 weeks ago now, we talked about chasing problems with check engine lights. Those videos really do kind of help you guys figure out, okay, just because it's got a code doesn't mean that's what's wrong with it. So those are some good ones to watch. Awesome, guys. We got 45 of you in here and only 6 likes. Guys, get those likes up. Come on now. Mike said headlights have condensation. Can it be fixed? Okay, Mike, that was a good question right there. So let's say your headlight, let me bring you guys so you can see what I'm pointing at. Let's say your headlight has condensation in it. Okay, what you want to do is go to the lowest point on the light, and you want to drill a small hole in the bottom of it. The reason you're doing that in the bottom is so that water won't get back up in there, and it provides airflow through the light, meaning that you won't build up condensation because you don't have moisture getting trapped. The moisture can get out through the weep hole. Oftentimes there's weep holes on the back of the headlights. Those sometimes get plugged. You can sometimes clean those out, but some of these are complete sealed units. And once they're sealed, the only way to provide that breather is to drill a small pinhole in an area where water won't be able to pool up inside the light. If that's the case, you'll want to take the headlight out, find the lowest point, and drill that weep hole. Usually I use a very, very small drill bit, like a 3/16 or something really small. It doesn't need to be very big. You're just trying to get moisture out of that light. So hopefully that helps you. That's what I would do. If you have moisture inside your light, find the lowest point. Sometimes it's in the corner of the light, depending on how the headlight sits. This one, I would say, is going to be probably right down here. This is going to be your lowest point on the headlight, and this is where you'd want to drill the weep hole. If you don't have good access to it, pull the headlight out and do it when it's on a bench, so you don't drop it or break the headlight, because that'll defeat the purpose. Then you're wasting time drilling a headlight that you broke. So it's better to get it out to where you're not going to either scratch the bumper or do any damage to anything else. Then you can get that good hole drilled in it to keep that moisture out. Jake says, I need to see how my skid plate was on my 4Runner. Check out my Toyota video. I already did that on the Toyota because we powder coated those. And that one was an actual video, that wasn't a live. You guys will see that truck soon. I will be getting it out of storage hopefully by the end of next month, I'm going to guess. Maybe sooner. We'll see. Found your video and saw your live. Couldn't tell if you had dropped bad skid and to get front. Thanks. Yeah. So as you surf through my channel, you're gonna go back into some of my old videos. The silver Swine is an 04 Toyota Tacoma that has the full skid plate on it because it's a pre-runner. The pre-runner should have all the same skids that your 4Runner has. So you'll be able to see how to remove that because those are a two-piece skid plate. You have the one that goes over the engine, and then you have another one that meets into it that goes over the back all the way up to the transmission. So you have that two-piece skid plate. And what you need to do is remove the back piece first, then you can take and lower the front and undo the front bolts and pull that skid down and out. So that's really how to remove that skid plate. Make sure you like and subscribe. We do a lot of different automotive content on here. Guys, I got quite a few vehicles that we have on the channel. We have an 01 GMC Jimmy, and we are doing an engine build for it. So we will be rebuilding an engine for that truck here on the channel. I will go through it piece by piece so you guys understand everything we're doing. We also have our 2012 Malibu LT. We have our 2020 Kia Soul. And we have that 04 Toyota Tacoma that I just talked about. So, see another question here by Mike. Oh, well, I got one from P. Norton here. Kind of going through these. I meant dealer add-on that they charge $300 to $500 for that. Makes your brake lights flash whenever you hit them. Oh, okay. Yeah. That also became an insurance thing, just like you said down below. And that became a safety feature that you see on a lot of newer SUVs and pickups. And when you hit your brake pedal, that center light will flash a couple of times. And that's just to get people to pay attention when they're coming up behind a vehicle. I know what you're talking about. And yeah, that some of that stuff is just ridiculous what the dealerships and the manufacturers are doing. The additional charges that they have. When they get a new vehicle in, oftentimes the dealers are going through them top to bottom. And when they do, there's certain things that they do that we may or may not like. So anytime somebody wanted to order one, I would tell you order it and then tell them not to unwrap it. Meaning that you're going to remove everything in it and you're going to be the one to actually take the vehicle and get it ready for the road use. Not a lot of people will do that. They'll just buy one off that has already been gone through. And sometimes you get good vehicles, sometimes you don't. A lot of times if there was a lot of heavy recalls on a vehicle, I would tend to stay away from them. And usually I don't buy anything that's like newer than 2 years old. Some of that is I don't like paying the depreciation over time. So I can alleviate that by buying one that's 2 or 3 years old. 54 of you guys in here, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe, guys. We're bringing you guys content every week. So, trying to get caught up on everything. A lot of chats today. That's good. I think the bumper covers the lowest point. Does that matter? Yeah, if your bumper cover is in the way of the light, you're going to have to pull that headlight out so that you can drill that hole. Once you drill the hole in the light can go back in, the bumper cover isn't going to matter. So the only reason you would even have to contend with the bumper cover is on this one, the bumper cover clips into the light. If yours doesn't clip into the light, you don't even need to worry about that. You can just pop the headlight out, drill your hole, put it back in, you're good to go. But if you have one that attaches via the bumper cover, you're going to have to pull that bumper cover back in order to gain access to be able to drill that hole. Don't just drill it from the front either. Okay, let me give you guys this little tip. I should do a video on this one, guys. I really should. So when you're drilling the hole for that weep hole that we talked about with moisture inside your headlight, don't just drill it from the front where you think it's easy to drill that hole, because when you drill from the front, when you run into rain or spray from the vehicle in front of you, it's going to push through that hole, meaning you are going to get more moisture. You want to drill it from underneath so that it drains down and not allow stuff to go back into the light. Hopefully that helps you, Mike. That's one of those old school tricks that we've done for many, many years on many different vehicles. P. Norton, not only part of the mod squad, but also a member to the channel, guys. He says it is a $15 plug-in that they try to charge you hundreds of dollars for. Yeah, most of that stuff is plug and play. It's crazy how a lot of this stuff is plug and play, but dealers are using it as an excuse. Plus, the dealer rates have shot way up. Most of them are minimum $165 to do anything on a car. Anything. The most affordable thing you could do at a dealership, kind of, is an oil change. And that depends on if they're using specialized filters. If they're using specialized filters, that oil price is going to get jacked up. So most of the time, a dealer is not the way to go. And I know I just upset some people that are dealers, but honestly, dealers are not the way to go. They overcharge you. And it's just, that's why we learn to work on our own stuff. That's why I'm here sharing my knowledge with you guys. I've done quite a bit of different stuff. If you guys check any of my recent stuff, I even get into some of my past history, and I explain how I got to where I am today. But we can tinker around with some of that later on in the video if you guys like. Actually, most dealerships just add it to the purchase and don't even tell you what it is for until you question them on it. Yeah, that's a shady dealership. There's a lot of those out there. And Mike says, thanks for the advice on the headlight. No problem, Mike. Thank you for chatting in today. Yeah. So we're going to continue on with our project. Guys, there's 60 of you in here. Hit that like button. Help build the channel. Likes are free. Hit that subscribe button so that you guys don't miss out. We do this every Saturday. Okay, so the first thing I'm doing is just kind of lining it up in here and getting this up into place where I can see where my clips are. So the first thing you want to do is get the front lip of the fender kind of squeezed into place where it belongs. Now, I do have a reference point because there's a bolt that goes up in here through my fender. So I know this is a good point to line it up. Then everything else that I need to do is pretty much based on where this lines up. And I'm already seeing an issue here, guys. So I will show you guys that once I get around some of this issue. Spot for a clip, so I want to put one in that'll hold this in place as I kind of jostle this around. Okay. Now, what I'm looking at is I have my air snorkel right here. This is for the front, and I'm trying to line this up. And actually, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put that in next. So next we're going to go for our air snorkel tube right here. And this rotates up with a 10 millimeter bolt that holds the back of this into place. Okay, I'm going to grab a wrench quick. All right. So we just had a really good question come in. Give me a second here, guys, and I'll tighten this up, and then we'll answer this one. The reason I'll stop everything for this question, because this really does talk about why it's important that we learn how to work on our own stuff. So you guys will get a lot out of this question here. All right, so I'm going to ask my producer to repeat the question. My chat is just being goofy with me, guys. So as soon as I hear back on that question, I will answer that. For some reason, my chat likes to goof up every once in a while, so I'm going to go in here and okay, so let's start with the first part. Why are mechanics not taking pride in their work? Well, some of it is a lot of mechanics, and I'm not blaming the mechanics here, I'm blaming the shops they work for. The mechanics are forced to hurry up and push that vehicle out, meaning that they work on what is called book rate. Book rate basically says, we're going to do this project. This project says it's only going to take an hour and a half. What you guys don't always get to see is sometimes there's complications with that process, and those complications tend to make it to where the job will take 3 hours. But because they're working on book rate, they're not going to make any more for that job. This creates a situation where mechanics will not take pride in their work because they're just trying to push the products out. Now, I don't blame the mechanics, so let me clear that up right now. I know I have fellow mechanics in here. I know that they more than likely will take pride in their work if they're on this channel, because they know what I do and how I do it and the reason I take pride in what I do. So what happens there is the dealer is the one pushing the demand. And when they say it's only going to take so long, that's all the mechanic's going to get paid for. Some mechanics may go above and beyond, but not a lot. The ones that are pushing crap out and not charging are scammers. Guys, I hate scammers. I hate the scammer dealerships. I hate the ones that are doing a bunch of shady crap and then not performing the work. If you're going to charge somebody for something, you better have done it. Because what that does is it gives everyone in the industry a bad name. And we try to work at a rate that we can be successful with our repairs, do them in a fairly efficient method that saves us time and saves the customer money. A good shop will pay attention to these things. It will be kind of what drives their business, because repeat business is how service industries stay alive. When you're looking at your quick lube oil change places, guys, there it's just about how many gallons of oil did they sell that weekend. And I don't mean to be mean to them, guys, but honestly, all it is just vehicle in, vehicle out, go. And that creates a whole new set of problems for the people in the industry. Because now we're getting ran up the flagpole for what the shady quick lube oil changes or the fly-by-night mechanics that don't actually do anything are doing to the industry. And we really, we want to change this issue that's going on, but it only starts when people start understanding what a car is, how it works, the mechanicals of it. Even if you don't have the tools, if you have the knowledge when you go in, it can save you a ton of money. Because honestly, if you go in and they start telling you, you need this and this and this and this and this and this, you can go, no, I know I don't need 3 of those things because they're not even related to the problem. So having that general knowledge can save you guys a ton of money. And that's really what I try to do here. You know, part of me giving back is 2 people who are really who are really important in my growth in the automotive industry. One of them was my dad. The other one was somebody who taught me a lot about auto body, which is why I know how to do stuff like this, but I also know how to tear an engine down because I've seen both sides. Not many people that are mechanics know both sides. Some people will only know the body shop side or will only know the mechanical side. Very few people will know both. The ones that do are usually very valuable in certain situations. Honestly, in shops though, we kind of get shorted. Like we don't get paid what we should based on our knowledge, which does come up to be a pain in the total rear when we're trying to actually get a decent paying job. And honestly, when you're working on book rate, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make a living by pumping vehicle upon vehicle out faster and faster so that they can compound their rate by the end of the day. This has created a problem in the industry. And because of that, we really should be highlighting that mechanics should be working to eventually break themselves free of the dealerships and be able to do their own stuff. Some of that is them not getting themselves into tool debt. Guys, I am not a fan of the tool trucks, and I know there's some people in the chat who are going to get upset with me, but the tool trucks are meant for one purpose and one purpose only. You need a specialty tool that you can't get anywhere else, so you buy it from the tool truck. Your basic tools, you don't need to pay $150 for a ratchet when you could go to Harbor Freight, you could go to Northern Tool, you could probably even go to any like basic auto parts store and buy a set of wrenches and ratchets that are going to be just as good a quality. And even if they're not even a third of the price. So you could afford to replace them a few times before you actually got to the point that you needed them off the tool truck. Sorry to all my guys that are tool truck guys. Sorry I had to spill that sauce, but over here I try to tell the truth as much as possible, guys. I will never shy away from that. Oh, I seen chat back here from Chief. Good to have you in today. Saw you last week. Go to reputable mechanics. Correct. Find the good ones, guys. When you guys find good mechanics, stick with them. Oftentimes they'll steer you in the right direction. If you bring it in for an oil change and he tells you, hey, your brakes are at, 40%, we should probably consider doing it next oil change or after. Chances are he's a good guy because he's telling you ahead of time, this is what's going on. The scam comes in when you bring it in and you looked at your brakes and they tell you, oh yeah, they're fried. We got to replace these now. No, if you've looked at it and the pads are 75, 50, 45%, you don't need to replace them right now unless the brake pad has disintegrated, but you're going to see that. So quick way to tell if a shop is scamming you. The biggest thing, guys, is to make sure you do your homework. Don't be afraid to understand a little bit about the car before you take it in. Once you understand what common maintenance items you're going to run into, you can watch for some of these scams. A lot of times your quick oil change places or stuff that does stuff in a hurry, those are the ones you really need to watch out for. Guys, I'm bringing you some sauce here. Hit that like button. That's all I ask is the like and subscribes. Doesn't cost you guys a thing. It really does help build the channel and helps get this message out there for other people. Plus, we do projects every week. Next week, I am taking the week off, guys. I got some personal stuff going on, so I am taking next week off, just so you guys know. We'll get back into it. I know there's some more chats that came flowing in. He's asking, is my car modified? This car? No. The only mod I could say that this car has is it has a small filter delete on the intake side so that I'm not recirculating trash from my valve cover. Valve cover bypass is pretty much the only mod I've done to this other than changing out the headlights. This vehicle had a lot of maintenance stuff done to it. We had struts, brakes, tune-up on it, front timing chain. We've done all that. Guys, I've done those videos here for you. So there's a lot more coming yet on this vehicle that we're going to do to be able to get this thing back on the road. But what really brought this one is I hit a deer, and the deer just destroyed the bumper. Luckily, it was only the bumper, didn't bend any metal under the bumper. All the damage was surface level. So I was able to order a bumper online that was color matched. I'm going to be getting into that in about 2 weeks, guys. 2 weeks, we're going to be putting that bumper together. You guys are going to want to see that one because we're putting the grills in it, putting the badging on it. We're doing a few things to make sure the badging doesn't fall off like they normally do when people do projects like this. So that'll be a good one coming up for you guys in about 2 weeks. But yeah, if you want to know if there's anything that I've got modded so far, we are going to be doing a bunch of modifications to that 01 GMC Jimmy. And as far as other modifications, I really haven't done much for modifications on the Toyota, but we did do suspension setup on that truck. We did exhaust on that truck. We did pretty much everything but tires at this point, and tires are coming up. So at some point, I'll probably do a tire video on that truck too, but we got to do a tire video on this one first. Cabin air filters have always been suggested no matter if you replace them the day before. Yeah, Mike, sadly, that's one of those things that they scam people on. And once you know where it is and how to change them, you can do it yourself. I do all mine on my own. And the only one that has a filter is that one over there. The other three don't have filters. So if I took this car in to have a quick oil change done, which I would never do because I do them myself, if I were ever to do that, and they said any of my other three vehicles needs a cabin air filter, I would immediately pull my vehicle out of that shop. I would tell them not to touch it, and I would take it home because they don't have a cabin air filter. I know they don't because I've been underneath the dash on all three of them. All right, so there's 69 of you guys in here. Make sure you guys hit that like button, hit the subscribe. We really want to build the channel. We want to bring you guys merch for the future. Also, guys, thank P Norton 75. He is now part of our members channel. So our members are going to start getting perks. They're going to get drops ahead of time. They'll know the topic prior to everyone else. So they'll get to see and have a sneak peek of everything coming for the future. And that goes for anyone that joins the members. Members start out at, depending on what you pay for in your member, depends on what you're going to get. So like, you know, your student level is going to be different than the mechanic or master. So I believe I got it broken down into 3 categories on that. So, but yeah, let's go ahead and get back into this. So now that we've got this mounted up tight, this is part of our air box, guys. This is basically the snorkel that pulls air in behind the front bumper cover. We have one more piece to clip onto here, which is this. This is a silencer. All it's doing is making it to where you can't hear the engine pulling air. All right, I'm going to give you guys something. One, if you guys want me to mod this. Two, if you want me to just put it back in the way it is. Go ahead, down below in the chat. One, if you want me to mod this. Two, if you want me to just put it back in. Let's see everyone's vote on this. If we're gonna mod it, I may or may not do that on today's stream. But yeah, this you can modify this, and there's a way to do it to where it looks like it hasn't been tampered with. Okay, so yes, I got somebody screaming mod, mod, mod. So Mike, what this would be is this is just a silencer. What it does is as the air is pulled through that snorkel piece, in order to lessen the turbulence and the air noise, they put silencers on it. These silencers are nothing more than a way for air to get trapped. The mod is simple. All you need to do is fill this up with something that won't get sucked up into the engine. There's an easy way to mod these without having it really impact the engine at all. The only thing that it'll do is keep air from going in here. There is no air going in here. There's a weep hole in the bottom for moisture. So if it does get water in here, it'll drip out of the bottom here. But in here is where it's going to be the silencer portion of that snorkel. So what it'll do is when you hit the gas hard and it starts pulling air, you'll hear an air noise coming through. These silencers are all over the intake system. It isn't just the snorkel piece that has these silencers. Your intake tubes have them too, which is why a lot of people will switch out their intakes for an aftermarket intake setup so that they don't have those air restrictions. Air restrictions do limit fuel mileage, do limit horsepower. It's a way to regain the power lost from the factory that they use to dial the engines down. So you can gain back some by removing restrictions in the exhaust and removing restrictions in the intake. And if you do both, you'll actually gain more power. The computer will slightly adjust for it unless you tune for it. But for the most part, it really does kind of just help it run more efficiently all the way around. Thank you, engineers, for putting the intake so low. Yeah, that's always been a problem, guys. It's been a problem since day one. Maybe that's why it's there, because they put it so dang low. They knew they needed that they were going to ingest water. Yeah, see, some of these are designed to just trap air and be a silencer. Some of them, like I said, where this one's located, guys, if you drilled a hole in the bumper, it would suck so much water in when you were driving, you wouldn't want to drive this car. Because if it was raining out at all, it would just suck all of the water up into the air filter to the point that it overloaded the filter. Then it would start pushing water into the engine and it will potentially hydrolock the engine. So, again, some mods are good, some mods are bad. You have to know which ones are which so that you know what you're dealing with. And this is a simple one. Mike says more power equals less MPG, correct? False. False. This has been tested by many people, including myself. Just because you increase horsepower doesn't mean you decrease fuel mileage. Where you get your biggest fuel mileage waste or gain is if you change gearing. So if you change a gear set in a vehicle, let's say you go with a deeper gear, meaning you go to a 410. 410s are going to pull more RPMs, which means the engine's going to rev higher. That will consume a lot more fuel. Let's say you go in the other direction. Say you go to a 342. 342, you're going to save that money because you're not revving the engine as hard. But if you don't have the horsepower to pull that gear, it's going to burn fuel. So there is a trade-off. If you're going to pull a highway gear, you do need to have enough horsepower for that highway gear to not consume a bunch of fuel. More horsepower doesn't always mean bad fuel mileage. And I'm going to say this right now, and anyone who's had these motors already know what it is. If you've had any of the LS engines from back in the early 2000s, this would be Camaros, Trans Ams. I'll even give the Mustang guys a little piece of something. If you got one of the 5.0s, you'll notice that when they bumped the horsepower, they actually gained a little bit of fuel mileage because they were able to accelerate hard up to the speed. But then because the motor had more power, it didn't have to work as hard, so it didn't consume that extra fuel that the old stock motor was. If that made sense, give me a 1 down below. If it didn't, give me a 2 and tell me why. P. Norton said, it's all about how you drive, my man. It is. Truly it is. If you drive with your foot in the floor all the time, you're going to lose fuel mileage most of the time. But if you don't change any of your driving habits, and let's say you increase the horsepower, you can gain fuel mileage because it doesn't have to work as hard to get it up to speed. But you got to have an understanding of the vehicle and how it works and what you're doing to it. Are you asking it to do more than what you were before? If you are, you're going to use more fuel. But under a normal highway, just driving cruise set, as long as it's on the same road all the time and you know it's consistent, you will see fuel mileage savings with more horsepower. It's because it doesn't have to work as hard. So hopefully that made sense, guys. We'll get going. So we had enough people say they wanted to see me mod this. Again, let's do a 3 if you guys want me to mod this, a 4 if you want me to just put it on today and be done with it. Let's see that in the chat down below. There's 39 of you guys in here. We got 11 likes, guys. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. We do this every Saturday at 1 p.m. P. Norton, I can drive my F-150 EcoBoost and get 20 miles to the gallon, or I can lead foot it and get less than 10. Yeah. It does matter on how you drive it after you've done anything to the vehicle. And that is a very, very big thing, is how you drive the vehicle. If you're being aggressive with it, it's going to use more fuel. If you don't change what you're doing, but you increase the horsepower, you will notice a fuel savings because it doesn't have to work as hard to get it up to speed. This is why guys that had the Trans Ams and the Camaros, they didn't really see much fuel loss when they did get more horsepower. Because either they were already driving it aggressively, or by having more horsepower, they were able to not have to bury their foot into it all the time. So that's one way of looking at it. Oh, I got one from Mike. My 15 Rev 4 gets less MPG than my 02 Camaro. I have not looked in, or I haven't looked at the pounds. So the reason your 2015 Rev 4 is probably getting less fuel mileage is some of the coding and programming in the computer. I have noticed that anything after 2010 has not very good programming in it. Their programming is flawed. And as much as they're trying to sell us on these more fuel efficient vehicles, they're really not. So P. Norton said 4, just put it in. See if we got anybody else. The Monte Carlo will get good fuel mileage because you're also dealing with 2 different factors. One, you're dealing with an SUV. SUVs will get less fuel mileage because they're higher up off the ground and they have more wind drag. So that's one factor. The other is you're dealing with a smaller SUV versus a lower aerodynamic car. Those two are not even in the ballpark of the same style of vehicle. If you were trying to compare to like a Camry to the Monte Carlo, you'd be a little closer. I believe that they're both pretty similar in weight, actually. But yeah, that is one factor of why the fuel mileage is so much different. You know, one is a car, one is an SUV. So there's a big factor. Wind drag is another. You know, how much wind drag does that SUV have? Some of them are kind of aerodynamic, but you still have wind drag against the tire and the whole under chassis, where a lot of those, like the Monte Carlo, is very low to the ground, meaning there's not much air getting underneath that car. So there isn't much drag on that car. Same for brakes. Yep. Just assumed 13-year difference would make it equal. No, it don't. We'd love to say it does, but it doesn't, because it really does come down to the amount of wind drag you have going against the vehicle. And the only thing that really increases the fuel mileage is what they did to get the fuel mileage. So wherever you're at now, without doing anything else to the vehicle, you're not going to gain fuel mileage in the 2015. But again, we get into some of that stuff when we start doing things like this. So I'm not seeing a whole lot, guys, as far as you guys wanting me to mod this. But since one of our mods voted on this, I will go ahead and listen to my mods. My mods, guys, my mods are really important. Anyone who does give good stuff, I do mod up. And let's go ahead and welcome Mike to the mod squad, guys. He's the newest member of the wrench squad. So let's thank everyone, and let's get moving with this. So the mod is you would put spray foam in here. Spray enough in here. Don't overfill this. You don't need to get carried away. The stuff does expand really bad, really hard. So you don't need to overfill this. Once you've put the spray foam in here, you're going to put tape over this. You're going to let this cure overnight. You'll take the tape off and you'll notice that this is completely blocked with the spray foam. That spray foam, don't cut it, leave it solid, because the air will just blow past it and it won't pull up anything into the air filter at all. So that's how you would mod this. And what this would do is allow you to hear the air being pulled into the engine a lot easier. That's all this would do. This won't save fuel mileage, but it does remove an air restriction, which does help the engine breathe a little bit better. Not enough that you would have to program it, but it does do some stuff. Richard says, so you're on just weekends. What time do you start? And he said, I did subscribe. Does that mean I'll get notifications? Yes, if you subscribe, you'll get notifications. Guys, also make sure you ring the notification bell so you get notified when I go live. I only go live Saturdays at 1 p.m. So the only time you guys are ever going to see anything different is if I do a special, which doesn't happen very often, to be honest with you guys. I do a few specials every year, but nothing super crazy. So we do that, but it's always Saturday at 1 p.m. Central. We do new topics every week, and usually we have a project going. So as we do the project, we'll get into more stuff. Hello 03 says, what do you think of the Infiniti G37? Infinitis are one of those where you're going to be spending more money because it's a foreign vehicle, meaning you're going to be spending more on parts because sometimes those parts have to be imported in. If you don't live in the US, then your country may not have to import them. But if you do, there's going to be an associated cost with that. So usually I'll stay away from a lot of import stuff. I know I have a Toyota, I have a Kia here. So we do have some import stuff, but when it comes down to it, anytime you got to rely on parts coming in from overseas, it adds a tremendous cost. The other thing is you got to really do your homework on every car. And when you look at it, you want to look it up and down, make sure it's not leaking any fluids. I've already done kind of like if you guys wanted to buy one, I did a video about a month ago where I showed you guys how to buy a used car. That video really does help you guys buy a good car. Mike says, wow, thanks. No problem, man. You were in here last week. You know, you shown that you're in here quite a bit. So I like to promote up my guys that are here and always giving good stuff in the chat. So yeah, you guys don't have to have a super lot of amount of knowledge in the automotive industry to get a wrench here. I'm not like that. I'll wrench up people that I know that are helping with the chat, that have knowledge. So it's a two-folded situation. If somebody's engaging a lot and really there and really being active in the chat, I'll wrench them up. If they have knowledge and can really show that they got a lot of knowledge for this stuff, I do wrench them as well. P. Norton 75 is one of them. He's been around a long time. He's shot good information in for not only myself, but for other people here too. Corvette guy, you must have just tuned in a little bit ago. So we got a Malibu LT 2012. We got an 01 GMC Jimmy. We got a 04 Toyota Tacoma and a 2020 Kia Soul EX. So that's what's on the channel. And Sherlock says, what up, G? What up? Good to have you in here. I do not have a Nissan Z. I do know that they're fun. So P. Norton said, just slap it in. We're going to go ahead and slap this in. But I did explain to you guys, if you do want to mod this to where you want more sound coming out of your air intake tube, again, put spray foam down in here, tape this off and let it sit for 24 hours, come back and peel the tape off. Do not try to fill this with spray foam. You want to get enough in here that it goes down in here and expands out, but you want it to fill here. That's why you put the tape on it. So that's the mod. But he says slap it back on, so that's what we're going to do. And it's just like that. Clipped right in. So I clipped in the bottom first, then I did the top. And now this is in, it's bolted in, it's done. Now we can move on to our fender liner. And we've already tightened the bolt for our snorkel piece. So now we can start putting in more of our plastic clips. Starting to see some of the holes that they drilled for this cheap liner don't line up, which this does happen from time to time, guys, especially when you buy some of this stuff online. Some of these parts are not exactly perfect. Richard, how would I see some of your past videos? I do have a Forerunner. Kind of interested in any exhaust mod. So if you go to the channel page, you can go to any of my playlists. You can also find those playlists in the description down below. Through there, you can look through some of my old pre-recorded videos, which I don't do pre-recorded anymore. The reason for it took too much time for me to edit and upload those videos. Now I just do a live every Saturday. So that's how you could check out any of the old stuff that would be on that '04 Toyota Tacoma. And most of the stuff you could see on there, you could probably do to your 4Runner. So again, that one is a pre-runner Toyota Tacoma. You might have the 4-wheel drive, so there might be a few things that are different. Sherlock says, unfortunately, my vehicle is not on here. However, I have a PCM problem due to my DTC. I have many DCT codes that say my electrical system is not working. Okay, so you're in a very, very complicated situation, Sherlock. What you're going to have to do is basically start from scratch, meaning that you need to know if it's a PCM problem or if it's a wiring problem. Sometimes it can be as simple as a ground wire that's broken. Sometimes it can be a broken power wire. But usually it's going to be something feeding the computer. Once you know what that problem is, then you can start tracking that down to figure out what it is. What you could do is take each DTC code, write it down, go online and put all of those codes in, and then see what comes up. That's one way of doing it. The other way to do it is to pull the PCM out, take it to somebody who can go through the PCM and make sure that everything is still good in there. Sometimes if the vehicle's been flooded, a lot of times the computers get soaked and it damages the circuitry inside the computer. If that's happened, you're going to have a whole lot of issues. Sherlock says, you are a good investment. Thank you, sir. Just make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll keep bringing you guys more content. So, but yeah, you're going to want to basically start from scratch. Diagnose this thing on your own. Start with the computer, chase the trouble codes, see what correlations between those trouble codes are, if you can find one. If you can't, check your wiring harness. Lastly, pull the computer and have the computer checked. And if they say the computer's bad, then the computer's bad, and you're just going to have to replace the computer. But try to track down that other stuff first, because I know a lot of people have put computers in and wasted their time and money. Don't do that. Make sure you check everything else attached before you start digging into having to replace a computer or reprogram one. Sometimes they just need to be reflashed. But I would make sure the vehicle wasn't flooded. That would be a really big one for me. If I knew I had a whole bunch of PCM problems and a whole bunch of trouble codes, I'd be trying to figure out if that thing was a flood vehicle. Because if it was, you're going to be tracing and tracking problems as long as you own it. Because that water and moisture gets into all the wiring, corrodes everything. The wiring is bad half the time, so you have to rewire the entire car. Usually flood vehicles are a big no-no. Just stay away from them. Mike is asking, do you use or recommend a bi-directional scanner? I do. And I really do want to upgrade my scan tool. When I do, I'm going to be doing a bunch of videos on that, guys. I've looked into a few different options. There's two of them that I really like right now that are bi-directional, meaning that it'll give me information to the scan tool and I can send information from the scan tool to the vehicle. This works great for checking like windshield wiper motors, or being able to reset trouble codes in transmissions, or doing a bunch of this other stuff that we can't do with a normal handheld. So I am looking at that. My problem is I want to do one that does tire codes as well. I want to be able to reset the tire pressure sensors. So I'm looking at one that does literally everything for the lowest cost possible. Right now I found two of them that are kind of on my hit list, and they're less than $600, but both of them would do almost everything. So I'll let you guys know once I pull the trigger on one, but right now I'm still in the looking phase. But I do recommend a bi-directional scan tool. It's a lifesaver because it helps you narrow down so many other different things that you can't see. A lot of times those will let you see how the sensors are working. You know, is all of a sudden the sensor just dropping off and then all of a sudden coming back in? If it does that, then you got a bad sensor. But if it's working and all of a sudden it's shooting up high and then slowly dropping back down or doing something different, your sensor's working. So it might be related to something else going on. You could have an overfueling issue causing an O2 sensor to read wrong, and it still throws a check engine light even though your O2 sensor is reading right. So bidirectional really does help with that. Sherlock said, duly noted. At Mr. Stepper, back at you. What was that about there, P. Norton? Oh, okay, that was a private conversation between you two. Okay, cool. All right, guys, I'm going to get back into putting this in. We're going to line up some of where... Oh, yeah. So, yeah, you guys are chatting in down below. That's cool. So I'm going to put one in down here. That'll help secure this. I'm also going to come to the bottom flap. Okay, so I missed George's question. He asked, is it okay to remove it? Were you talking about this, which was the silencer? No, sorry, man. I've been way too distracted today. I apologize for that. Okay, so this has no legal ramification whether you remove it or not. All this does is make it quieter so you can't hear the airflow coming into the engine. This has no impact on if it's legal or not to remove it. This won't impact emission at all. So there is nothing. Okay, yeah, so the mod on the snorkel, it's not illegal. It won't do anything to the engine. It won't change anything there. The only thing this does is add a little bit of sound. And I do mean a little bit. It's barely anything, but what it does is it removes the restriction in this air setup. So there is no legal, nobody can get in trouble for this. This is something that everyone could do. You can remove restrictions real easy and not have it impact the computer or not have it impact the engine and how it runs. So you could remove this if you wanted. You could fill it with foam so that it doesn't trap air. Either one is perfectly fine. There is no sensors ahead of here, so there's nothing that the engine is taking as far as information until you get up past your air filter. Then you have a MAF sensor, mass airflow sensor. That is your first line of sensors. So everything you do up to that sensor does not impact anything with emissions. It does not impact anything as far as legal mods. It doesn't do any of that. What you're doing is just removing a stock restriction that has no impact on the system because it's not affecting a sensor. Hopefully that answered your question. Thank you, P. Martin, and my producer, Aim High, was in my ear. Thank you guys for catching that question. I really do appreciate that, guys. Again, I apologize, George, but we got you. There is no impact here. You can do this mod, no problem. And it's not going to get you in trouble at all. You can run it through an emissions test, and it's not going to throw a code. It's not going to do anything there because they're not going to know this doesn't have any sensors attached to it. It doesn't give information to the computer. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna get to Jade right now, and then I'm gonna come back to Hunter. So Jade asked the mod. So this mod that we're talking about is basically removing this silencer from our air intake tube. All this does is allow airflow to go in easier into your air filter. That's all it's doing. So what you do is you would remove this and either fill this with foam, or you would block off these ports on the side here, and then the air would only flow into the air intake tube up to the air filter, and you wouldn't have this huge restriction on the side. This isn't really so much anything but a silencer. It's designed to make it to where you can't hear the air flowing into the engine. That's all it really does, which is why there's no impact to your emissions at all. Thank you, George, so much. And it is 3:30 a.m. in my country. Oh, man. Well, hopefully you get some good sleep. Always check it back on the replay, or if you can check in. I like hearing from my fans from out of the U.S. It's always interesting to talk to new people. All right, to get back to Hunter here before I get back into putting this back in. The UTEC scan is amazing. I am a used car recon tech, and it does more than the shop owner snap-on scan tool. Yeah, guys, there's so many different scan tools out there right now, and I'm just looking for one that does the most that it possibly can. There's 51 of you guys in here. Hit that like button. Come on, guys, get the likes up. And then he also says the snap-on one could not. Yeah, the snap-on one. I'm not a fan of snap-on stuff because they... So, yeah, that creates some problems there because they're just overpriced. Amazon and my local Cornwell truck sell them, and they are great. I will look into that. That is actually one of them that I was looking at. There was that one, and then there's the newest one that I was looking at as well. All right. Yeah, if it reprograms keys, you usually got a pretty good one. So guys, we're gonna keep rocking and rolling on this. I don't want this to take all day, guys. But I do enjoy talking to you guys when you guys chat in. So I'm glad that we have good conversations going here, but I do want to keep plugging away on this. So the next, we're going to secure this up. Okay. And these are just the Christmas tree clips. That's all I'm doing on here. The rest of these we're going to contend with when we get to the point of mounting our bumper. So there is going to be some clips we're going to have to put in here, some screws that'll go into the bumper. There's going to be 3 that are going to go here. There's going to be 3 that go here. And those are what's going to hold our bumper cover to our fender, to our wheel liner. That's why I said some of this stuff is integral. It's part of the securement of the bumper. All right. So in here, 31 of you guys here. Guys, hit that like button for me, please. Likes are free. Really does help the channel grow. And we're trying to do this every week for you guys and bring you new content. So the more you guys engage, the more we can do for you guys. So there's one clip here All right. Give me just a second, guys. I'm gonna bring you guys back here for a second. I'll be right back. Guys, hit that like button. Get those likes up. I want to be up to 15 likes by the time I come back. All right, where are we at? Oh, we're still only at 12 likes, guys. Come on. Get those likes up for me. Pretty nice slotted and vented rotors. Yep, that was one of the mods that I just did. We did that a while ago, though. But yeah, we did full brake setup there. Pads, rotors, the whole 9 yards. Recently just did new struts. You guys should be able to see that video soon. Now we're in the process of getting our liner put back in so that we can actually get this thing back on the road here in the near future. Even has it on the correct side. Yeah. It's amazing what happens when you know how to assemble this stuff the right way. Some of these push clips are an absolute nightmare to get in there. That happens to be one of them right there. Yep, P. Norton, the struts were done not too long ago here. We just did those. There we go. Got it in there nice and flush. Shielding is all in. Got one up here. One up here. One there. One there. and the 2 screws down there. That would be all that holds this fender liner in. Let me go grab some more fender clip tools. Yeah, P. Norton, we just did the struts on this one. That was done, I want to say less than a month ago. We put new struts in this car. All right, I hope these clips are the right ones. If not, I'm about to find out real quick. These are a little shorter, but that's all right. All right, 60 of you guys in here. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe. Help us build this channel. We are working on merch for you guys. And anyone who joins the members only, you guys will get special content. 71 views, awesome guys. If my producer is still listening, could you potentially put up a poll for me and ask if people want to see the service on champagne bubbles? I'd like to know if people want to see that. Yeah, guys, we're working on some behind-the-scenes stuff here that my producer could actually do more with the chat and stuff. But I know I could create one, but I don't know if my editor or producer can do it. So that's stuff we'll work out in the future for you guys too. Mike says, drilled and slotted rotors. Does the car model and make differ as you use them? And when not? So, to answer that question, drilled and slotted rotors don't matter on any car you put them on. What they're doing is they're increasing, or I should say decreasing, the heat buildup in the rotor. Meaning that if you're under hard braking situations, especially under race situations, you'd want to get that heat away from the rotor as fast as possible. Drilled and slotted rotors allow you to do that. The reason I put them on this car is there was a situation, the deer hit, where I had to brake extremely hard. And when I did, I noticed that the brakes started to fade, meaning that they got too hot and didn't want to stop the car the way they were supposed to. So when I went through and I did the brakes on this, I put all new rotors and pads on it, and I did the drilled and slotted rotors so that the heat would dissipate away. In that video where I did that, I explain what the direction of these rotors need to be. So if your wheel is turning this way, it needs to be able to throw the heat off the rotor, meaning you have to pay attention to which way the rotor is spinning so that the fins go in the opposite direction to pull the heat away. If you have it going the other way, what it'll do is push the heat into the center of the rotor and actually cause them to overheat. They have to be facing the right way in order to disperse heat. Everybody, that is solid knowledge that you don't get unless somebody really gives it to you. So hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Guys, I drop content like this for you guys all the time on this channel. So I always do stuff like this. I'll give you guys tips that I do later on or from the past, and you guys always get this knowledge. So do me a favor, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. It really does help us build this channel. Okay, so I'm just double checking to make sure I got all my clips in, that everything is secure the way it's supposed to be. Making sure I haven't missed any, or it isn't to where there's a flap sticking out. You don't want stuff not. Okay, so I don't know if I answered Mike's question clearly enough, but let me go back over this one. Does it matter the make and model of the car? No, it does not. Does it make a difference in the application? Yes, it does. So if you're under a hard braking situation, let's say a lot of heavy city driving, you're going to want drilled and slotted rotors because it'll help dissipate the heat away from the rotor as you're doing a lot of stopping and starting. The more you use the brakes, the more the drilled and slotted rotors are beneficial to what you're doing. Also, if you're under heavy braking situations like a race application, you would want the drilled and slotted rotors at that point too, because what will happen is you can keep the heat away from that rotor so that your brakes won't fade. Brake fade is the worst thing to happen to anyone. When your brakes fade, they stop working. Well, in order to prevent that from happening, that's why we put these on. The make and model does not matter. We can do any make, any model, and put drilled and slotted on, and it is pretty much a brake upgrade at that point. That brake upgrade really does help you to be able to stop the car when you need to. If you live in a hilly areas in the West Virginia, they're also a very good idea. Yes, anytime you're doing mountain driving or steep inclines and declines where you're going to be riding the brakes for a long period of time, which you should never do, by the way. But let's say you're one of those people that just press on the pedal and hold it. You're going to want the drilled and slotted to keep that heat away from the rotor. So it doesn't really matter the make and model. What matters is the application of your brakes. How often are you using them, and how hard are you using them? The harder the braking application, the more likely you're going to want this upgrade. So, all right, 61 of you guys in here. Let's go with this. Rather than me putting up a poll, because when I do it, it does a whole bunch of weird things in my chat that I don't like. It kind of stops my chat so I can't see what you guys chat in, so I don't like putting up the poll. So we'll do it this way. One, if you guys want to see me do the service on champagne bubbles. Two, if you want me to go ahead and wrap up the stream here and give you guys information for the next live that we'll be doing, which will be in 2 weeks. Not next week, but the week after. So one, if you want to see the service. Two, if you want me to do a wrap up. And guys, hit that like button. Let's get up to at least 15 likes. There's 52 of you guys in here now. The likes really do help the engagement. Without the likes, it's really hard to not, it's really hard to build a channel if we're not getting the likes. The chat has been awesome today. You guys have been great. I love having my mods in here. So to answer Mike's question, he just asked, what is the service? We're doing a full oil change service on that car. And I'll break down everything if you guys want to stay in for that. I'll stay in with you guys and we'll do the full service together. So, one, if you want to see it. Two, if you don't. you guys are doing that, I'm just double checking to make sure I got all my clips in here. Mike says 1, he wants to see it. Seeing a lot of heart emojis. That's we could do that too if you guys want to do the emoji stuff. 2 more likes, guys. Let's get those up. P. Norton says that brings up any awesome questions. Thoughts on engine braking with automatic transmissions. If it was in a standard transmission, I have no problem. But autos, I think brakes are cheaper than trannies. Yes. Yep. Absolutely. So, while I'm waiting to see some more ones, guys, and there's 69 of you guys in here, we need 2 more likes. Come on, guys. I want to get to 15. To dive into his topic on what we call engine braking. Engine braking is where usually you'll have a turbo setup where the turbos will be used to dial that engine back. And what happens is it uses the exhaust to decelerate the engine. This is in a diesel setup, mainly diesels. We don't see these on gas engines because they're not needed. The brakes are more than efficient enough to stop a car because of the weight. Most of the time we see these in weight applications. We'll see them on big diesel trucks, whether it be a 1-ton or even semis, because they may be pulling a trailer, they may be pulling a lot of weight. That's where we'll see a lot of these engine brakes and transmission brakes and stuff like that. I'm not a fan of using a transmission brake because it does tear up transmissions. And in the process of tearing up a transmission, it gets to be too costly. The average cost to rebuild a transmission right now is about $1,000 per gear. So if you have 8 gears, you're spending $8,000 to rebuild that transmission. That's just a ballpark figure. It can go way higher if you choose to do upgrades inside the transmission. It can even get to the point that those costs exceed the value of the vehicle, especially if you're doing anything performance-wise. There's guys who spend 15, 20 grand on a transmission to be able to do the stuff that they want to do, whether it be a race application or a heavy hauling situation on a 1-ton truck. That all makes a difference on the cost and what you're looking at. So when it comes down to it, I am a fan of the diesel engine braking. I'm not a fan of the transmission brakes. I don't like the way they work, and they do cause damage to the transmission over time. That prolonged use of that particular setup will damage a transmission. It's just the nature of the beast. And some of these things you don't know unless you're in the industry or somebody that is sharing their knowledge tells you guys exactly what's going on. So we had quite a few ones. We had a lot of hearts flying. So we will go ahead and do this service. That way you guys can see what a full service looks like. I'll break down what I do, and then I'm sure my mods or anyone else will chime in down below on what they might do also. And some of the stuff they might do might be a double up of what I do. Some of it might be a little different. So we'll look at that. Thank you, mods. You guys are awesome today. So we're going to transition over now. We're done with this. The liners are in. Next, I can go ahead and start prepping to get this bumper put on this car. But before we do that, we're going to have to assemble that bumper. I'll spill the next video after we do the service on champagne bubbles. So you guys are getting a 2-for-1 today. Normally, I'll only bring you guys one topic and I'll move on, but we have an opportunity here today. So I do want to give you guys value. All right, guys, make sure you hit that like button. We're still short. 2 more likes. Come on, guys. Get the likes up before I move on. $75 in here. 65 of you guys in here. You guys are ninja watching. Come on. Help us build the channel. We're also trying to do merch for you guys here in the near future. So in order for us to do that, we got to get our subscribers up. We got to keep the chat flying, and we got to get the likes up. Without that stuff, we can't build the merch store, and we can't bring you guys a lot of different other stuff that we're looking at. Yes, it is. Yep. Not sponsored, by the way. I live up in the Rust Belt, so I don't drink sweet tea. I know there's quite a few Southerners in my chat. Those guys like their sweet tea. I grew up on old-fashioned sun tea, so that's what I drink. Nice, that's all I drink. Nice. Come on, guys, 2 more likes. 71 of you guys in here. Be nice and stop ninja watching. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, guys. We do this every Saturday at 1 p.m. I hate having to drill you guys for likes, but it's the only way we get out there. It's the only way we can share our content and get more stuff out for you guys. Show you guys the back of the shirt. This is what we're looking at. This won't change. So for the merch stuff that we will be selling, the only thing that's going to change is this. So rather than this lettering being the black part of the shirt, that's going to be actually this silver color is going to be just the lettering with no logo. So imagine the silver part gone, silver lettering here instead. It'll be the same on the side of the hats. So it'll just be the lettering, won't be the big block. I did the block so it stands out for you guys on camera. Come on, 57 of you guys in here. 13 likes. We've got to get that like up. Come on, guys. Really do try to bring you guys content every week. Every Saturday, I'm here doing this. There's only about, I would say maybe 3 or 4 weeks out of a year where I'm not doing something on a Saturday for you guys. P. Norton says, just found a YouTube hack. I don't know. I don't think it works with. I think the likes are based on. Hopefully my internet doesn't act up. My modem keeps getting hot. I might have to switch over to a different internet setup, and I don't know if I'll be able to carry the views if I do that. But yeah, no. If you exit out, I think it remembers who liked. So you can't re-like it again if that's what you're asking. Come on, guys. 2 more likes. I'm only asking for 15. There's a lot of other channels out there, guys, that they'll stop everything like we're doing now. They won't restart until it's at least 50% engagement. And the reason for that is YouTube is built up that if we don't get the likes and we don't have the comments and we don't get the subscribes per video, then it slows down how much they spread out the content when I do go live. So in order for me to reach more people and bring you guys merch, we need to get out there. That's why I'm asking you guys for this. I really should be asking you guys for 25 likes right now. And if you guys want to see other automotive content, leave it down below. I'm more than willing to do other different kinds of automotive content. We do a lot of automotive stuff. So if you guys are over here, more than likely you're watching automotive stuff to begin with. We do have an engine build coming up this year where we're going to strip down a junkyard engine, rebuild it back up from the ground up. So we're doing that here on the channel. All right, come on guys, one more like. Our goal is to dig into this project back here. We're going to do a full service on it. I'm going to break it down on video. This is good for anybody who has a car, literally anyone who has a car, because all vehicles need maintenance. All vehicles need service. I'm going to give you guys everything you need to know when you decide to do. It's not just an oil change, guys. I'm not playing around here. I'm not trying to clickbait you guys in any way. I'm going to show you how to do a full service in your own driveway. So get the lights up. Come on, guys. Yeah, P. Norton, it probably, you won't be able to like it again, because I really do think it's attached to your username. It does help the viewership because you're in the chat, and the longer you're in the chat, it's better. That's just how their algorithm works. There's been a lot that I've had to figure out, guys, as far as this algorithm stuff. It's complicated. But yes, it's really important to have the likes. It's really important to have the subscribes. It's really important to have the watch time. The longer people watch, the better, because then they'll push out the content more. So longer viewerships is even better. Come on, guys. I hate slowing this down. 47 of you. One more light, guys, and we're going to get into this service. Turbo on the Kia behind you. No, it's not a turbo. This does have the 2.0, and it does have the piston ring issue. We are having oil consumption issues. I'm doing something a little different with this service. You guys want to see this, trust me. 15 likes. Thank you guys so much. Continue hitting the like button. Let's go ahead and get into this. So, when you're doing your service, you're obviously going to change your oil and oil filter. That's going to be number one. I really don't need to show you guys that at all. LS swap it. It's a Kia Soul. I'm not going to LS swap a Kia Soul. I know you guys want to see some crazy content, and we're going to do a bunch of crazy stuff on the engine build. Trust me. But not an LS swap and a Kia Soul. That I'm not doing. Okay, so get back into our service. Wow, you sidetracked me there. That was good but crazy. I'll give you that one. When you're doing your service, you're obviously dropping your oil. You're obviously changing your filter every single time. If you ever... Yeah, I would not want to deal with an unhappy wife when her vehicle is down because I decided to do something insanely crazy and it may or may not work. I won't take that risk. I'll do something crazy and stupid with other vehicles that I got before I do that. Besides, an LS really wouldn't fit underneath here unless I cut everything apart. So, no. We're good on that. Okay, so get back to our service. If a shop ever doesn't change the filter, the oil filter, don't go back to them. Walk away. It's real simple. If they ever don't change that oil filter, when you take it in for an oil change, don't ever go back to them. Because that one move could potentially destroy your engine. Not a lot of people on the internet are telling you guys that. Not a lot of people are giving that advice. I will, because I care. I don't want you guys taking something and having a bigger issue. And I would never, hey Jay, good to have you back in here. But yeah, Jay, we're switching over. We're doing a full service on our Kia Soul, our 2020. We finished up our wheel liner, so you could probably catch that on the replay, but full service on this is where we're at. So if they don't ever change an oil filter, when you take it in for a service, do not take it back to them and complain. Take it somewhere that you trust, get it changed again, and get a good filter on it. Don't buy cheap filters. If you're doing your own oil change, make sure you buy good filters. I do use Napa filters. I know guys are going to run me up the wall for this. Everyone's got their own favorite brand of oil filters. Some people are even going to tell me, why am I not running a K&N or something like that, or something of a little higher quality? Everybody's different on that. Just don't buy the low grade filters, because if you ever cut them open, you're going to see that they're different on the inside. Different filters have different counts on the pleats. The pleat is what does the filtration. So if you open a filter up and it's just a smooth paper all the way around, it's not going to be very good at filtering. If you open one up and there's a bunch of fins in it, those are the pleats. Those pleats are what actually does the filtration. So just know, don't buy cheap filters, ever. Next, stay away from conventional oil. Conventional oil went away back in the 90s. We don't really run it on old stuff even nowadays. The synthetics are better and they last longer. You can usually get another 1,000 to 2,000 miles out of an oil change by running a full synthetic. Don't run it past 5,000, ever. Never past 5,000 miles. You do damage to the engine, not because the oil goes bad, but because the oil catches so much contamination inside the engine that the carbon buildup inside the engine oil starts making it to where the oil is not good to run anymore. You need to drain it and put fresh in. That is a must. Let's cover a little bit under the hood. What do you need to do underneath the hood on your oil change that you should do every single oil change? Well, let's cover it here. You're obviously going to top off your windshield washer fluid. You're going to make sure that your radiator fluid is topped where it's supposed to be. These are two important things that a lot of people miss. Next, you're going to put in a new air filter. So I've already pulled my old one. Always check your battery posts. Make sure you don't have any green corrosion on your posts. It doesn't take very long to look at them. Make sure there's no green crusty or white crusty stuff in there. If you do, take the time to clean it up. Check your brake fluid. Make sure your brake fluid is good. And sometimes the color isn't going to always tell you what you need to know. This is why now, this one is for, I believe, engine coolant. Yes, this is an engine coolant one. This one would allow me to test the engine coolant to make sure that it's good. They make these for brake fluid. Make sure you get some of these and test your fluids. This will tell you when you need to do a flush. If you do this, you're going to save yourself a bunch of money. And really, that's what this is about. It's about saving money because you were able to do it yourself. Not only that, but then you know the condition of your vehicle and you know what you can and can't do with it. If you start noticing that your brake fluid is going bad on a regular basis, you can start looking at your brake system. Not only that, but if you go to take it in, you can tell them, hey, I've got something wrong here. This is what I'm finding. So you're helping with the diagnostic process to where it'll cut down on the amount of time it'll take to figure out what's wrong. Now, not everyone's going to have a scan tool. Not everyone's going to spend that kind of money. But if you're doing your own oil changes and topping off all of your own fluids, you will save yourself money because you're not paying for that regular service interval that you have to do. That's not all we do when we do a service. Just because we've topped off the fluids and put filters in where needed be, whether it's in a passenger compartment for your cabin air filter, which I've already done on this vehicle, whether it's your engine air filter, those things you check, and when they're dirty, you replace them. I'm going to show you guys something on the Kia Souls now. Oh, we got a few chats here. You should talk about Toyota's downfall. You know what? How about I bring that up at the end? As far as filters go, I order all mine from Rock Auto. I got Wicks. Yep. As long as you don't buy the cheap line of filters, you're good. Yep. Jay is talking about the oil change and the coolant. Yep. So, Kia Souls. You look at this filter, it doesn't look that bad. But this is a 2.0 engine. It's a small engine, meaning that it doesn't get much air to begin with. So even a minor restriction that this filter might cause would be enough to cause the engine to not run right, not get good fuel mileage, not idle correct. It does a bunch of weird things when you don't keep a fresh air filter in these cars. Kias are a very fussy engine, unlike the GMs. So 2.0 in here, 2.4 in there. That one, I can go almost a full year before I need to bother putting an air filter in it. This one behind me, it's about twice a year, sometimes 3. And we don't drive on gravel. So if we were driving on gravel, that interval would go up dramatically. Again, guys, I use Napa Gold filters. The reason I use them is it's easy access for me to get these filters, and I like the quality of them. They are very, very close to the OEM style filters. So you can't really tell the difference here on camera, but I can clearly see it as I look at it because I can look down in between these pleats and I see light. My other filter, I couldn't see the light through these pleats. If you can't see light, it doesn't get air. That's something to remember. If you ever want to check an air filter, guys, I've done this so many times on film. You ever want to check if a filter's good, put a light to it. If light can't get through, air can't get through. It's all you got to do to check it. Guys, I'm bringing you solid info. Keep hitting that like button. There's still 36 of you guys in here. We're going to keep rolling. So now that we verified that the filter's good, we're going to slide this in, get this set down in here, and then I'm going to put my air box in. Okay, I'll show you guys what I just did. And for my producer, please pay attention to the chats. I'm going to start moving a little faster. I'd like to get this service done. So, private message to my producer to keep an eye on things for me. So, there's little prong teeth down there, right there. There's one there, and there's one on this side that hold this air box in. So you're going to push this down at an angle and shove this back. And then you've got clips that hold this on. So you've got a clip here and a clip here. That's what holds this air box in there. Once you've changed your air filter, this part is done. So now that we've done that, what's next? Well, if you're just changing oil, putting in an air filter, and topping off the fluids, you're not doing this right. You're rushing through the process. You're just trying to do the bare essentials and move on with your day. The problem is you're going to miss things. And the things you miss are the things that are going to come back to bite you later on, whether it be when you're on the road or when you're having other problems. One of those things is tires. If you're not paying attention to your tire tread depth or your suspension components or your drive axles, you're going to miss a key thing that could really wreck your day. You can catch a lot of problems just based on what your tires are doing. Are your tires chopping? How does that chop look? What does it look like? Is it chopping at an angle across the tire? Is it chopping straight across the tire? Or is it doing one of these weird lump things all over the tire? That will tell you what's going on with your suspension, your alignment, and your tires as well. Knowing that is really, really important. If you ever do long road trips, you want to do a full inspection of the vehicle before you leave. This includes checking for any nails, checking to make sure the tires are not too chopped up. If they're really chopped, you might have to put tires on before you take it. We just put tires on it. This one is starting to kind of chop the tires a little bit on the inside. So I will be looking into that, but it's not bad enough that I can say we're not going to take this on a road trip. So that being said, how do we check these tires? Well, we can check these tires a few different ways, guys. First of all, you're going to want to check the air pressure. As long as the air pressure is where it needs to be, you're good. This tire in particular doesn't like to have a whole lot of air in it. It will cause the center of the tire to wear out faster. So we keep these around 38 PSI. And we try to keep all tires on this vehicle at that PSI. It works good with these. These tires are a little softer compound. I can actually bend the tread with my finger. So that is some of the reason why we have the issues that we have. Now, we have a slight chopping issue on the inside of these tires, and it's on every single tire. That being said, that is something that I'm going to keep a close eye on, and if it keeps doing that, we are going to change the tires. But you want to run your hand across the tire and make sure that you don't have any deforms in the tire. That is really, really important. But making sure the tires are in good shape is just the first step. You need to look at the drive axles. You need to look at the upper and lower A-arms. If you have A-arms or if you have a strut, you want to check the strut. Because this vehicle is chopping the inside of the tires, what that tells me is that my tires are going like this. And it's riding on that tread, almost bouncing on that tread. And because it's bouncing on there, that's why we're getting the chopping. In order to fix that, we would have to put struts in it. I've looked for struts for this car. Apparently, because it's an import car, the struts are harder to get. I could get it for the 2016s and older, but the new body style Kias are a lot harder to get the struts for unless you go to the dealer. Some of this is done on purpose. It's called proprietary technology. When a company designs something that's kind of unique or special to their vehicle, they will hold on to it for as long as they can. I covered this in last week's special on the e-torque. I covered all of that. I don't want to get into it. I don't want to go too deep into the weeds on that one because that did cause problems on YouTube. So I won't get into that. We've got another topic coming up that's going to cause me some more problems on YouTube, which we are going to do soon. It was recommended last weekend. People want to know about the Cash for Clunkers thing. I will be getting into that. I will break that one down. But what we need to know is that our tires are in good shape. You have to check every single tire. Don't skip one. Don't assume that the tires are good. Always double check your tires and make sure that they're all good. Check air pressure, check for if the tire is deformed, and check for any objects in the tire. Once you've done that, you're going to want to get underneath, check that suspension. You want to check any trailing arms, struts, shocks, sway bar links, any of that stuff. I'm going to substitute a vehicle just to show you guys the components you need to check, because I can do this easily from out here. So if you are checking your vehicle, you're going to check your CV axle, make sure that these boots are not tore and grease is flying everywhere. Check your sway bar end links, check your sway bar, make sure it's not broken. Check your tie rod ends, make sure your tie rod ends are not wore out or weak. You're going to check your struts, make sure your struts are in good shape and they're not rusting to where they're going to potentially leak fluid. Usually about every 75 to 100,000, if you drive on smooth roads all the time, you should replace these. This vehicle has 140, so it was long overdue. The other thing you're going to check is bushings. So bushings on your lower control arms. You're also going to check your ball joint down there that connects to the spindle. Those need to be in good shape. Also, you're going to check the brakes. Make sure your brake pads, usually there's an inspection slot right back here. This allows you to look in there and see how much pad you've got left. All right, so looks like Sherlock said my CV axle boot on the driver's side of my vehicle is kind of slipping off. Get that corrected, because if it gets dirt in there, it's going to wreck the CV axle. Sometimes you have to replace the CV axle anyway, so if it comes down to that point, replace it. Check a few more chats here. Jay said I replaced the coolant and oil because I saw the other day the vehicle temp was at 290. Ooh, that's cooking head gasket material right there. You might actually have a head gasket out if you're reaching those kind of temps, and or possibly a plugged thermostat. Lack of coolant is a completely different issue. Head gaskets, yeah. So anytime you get something that's really that hot, you have the potential of seriously damaging your engine. This is why maintenance is so important, guys. Because if you're doing regular service intervals, you'll catch this stuff. It won't slip through the cracks. Because when it slips through the cracks, that's when it costs you a bunch of money. If you can catch it early, you can oftentimes save yourself a lot of money. All right, 16 of you guys in here, please hit that like button. There's 37 of you in here. That means there's quite a few people that have not liked or subscribed yet, so please do that. We do these lives every Saturday at 1 p.m. So now that we've talked about the components that we're looking at, what else would we possibly need to do? Well, this one is a little trivial, but if you ever drive in rain, you're going to be glad you did. Check your wiper blades. Make sure your blades are not ripped or torn. Make sure they're in good shape. If you have a rear wiper blade, make sure you check that. Oftentimes the rear ones do get damaged and most people don't catch it until it's too late and it starts scratching the back window. Sherlock, it's never good to get any air filter wet. What happens is it can pull water into your engine and hydrolock the engine. So make sure your filters stay dry, make sure they stay clean. Yeah, no, I would never put anything on filters. I know some people run the can ends that have the oil in them, but I don't normally run those filters. It's better to just run a normal dry filter. What happens is the people that run those K&Ns, and it's got that oil in it, that oil gets sucked into the engine and it gets attached to sensors, such as your mass airflow sensor or your MAP sensor, or it can mess with your throttle body. Those three components can cause quite a few trouble codes that are not worth chasing just because you put a K&N air filter on it. If you're going to go the route of doing that, make sure you have a reason for it, and it needs to be performance related if you do. But most of the time, I would say just run a normal dry air filter and keep it dry. Don't let anything get absorbed into it. No oil, no water, nothing. It's got to stay perfectly dry. If you live in a place that has a lot of humidity, it's good to check that every oil change, because if it does get too humid, that filter can actually catch a lot of that moisture in the air and cause that filter to want to suck water into the engine. Places with high humidity, like Florida, is a good example of why people change their air filter very often down there, or should. Florida water is just basic. No, I was referring to the K&N stuff with the oil, because most people haven't heard of. Some of the people that are here probably haven't done much with the K&N stuff, so they didn't know about that. But your question led me to that. So I knew what you were trying to do, and I got you. I decided to shift it and give people knowledge instead. So, where are we at with the service? Guys, I've already drained the oil on this. I'm about to pull the filter on it. For the most part, that is all just basic stuff. Has magical properties. You guys. So now that we've kind of looked over a lot of this, what other things would we do on a service? Well, I know this one is really simple. Anyone can do it. Turn your lights on. Turn them all on, including your four-way flashers. The reason you're doing this is to make sure the bulbs are working. If you don't have a working bulb, whether it be a license plate light, brake light, turn signal, clearance light, these are all reasons that you're going to get pulled over. If you give them a reason, they're going to take it, because it's a chance for them to write a ticket and potentially find other things. So if you keep your lights working, you're less likely to get pulled over unless you're really speeding. So keep your lights working and check them during your service. Turn on all your lights, turn on your four-ways, turn on your high beams, your low beams, your fog lights, all of them. That way you know where you're at with that. But yeah, now that we're ready to go ahead and finish up this service, all that I have left to do, and as far as where the drain plug is, a lot of you guys don't have a Kia Soul, so I won't waste your time showing you where that drain plug is, or the filter. This is what I do for filters, guys. I will show you this. So, because I do enough oil changes, I buy the right socket to fit my filter. This saves me a lot of frustration trying to get this filter off, especially on a car like this, where that filter is hard to reach. I can't get up in there with a set of pliers and try to wrench this out. I don't have the room. So having this adapter is really important. On Malibu steel, that filter is located on the top of the engine with a plastic cap. And you need this special socket to take that cap off. You can get these at pretty much any parts store. And once you have this, it is a very, very short 32 millimeter socket. Once you have it, you'll be able to take your filter off anytime you want, but you need this socket. I've tried using a short socket, which was not as short as this one, and I couldn't get it out because as you turn it out, you need to have room to take the socket off, and it's usually right below something that is solid, like a plastic piece of an intake or something like that. So the only way to get it is with a socket like this. But if you know your vehicle and you know that you're doing the oil changes, then buy the right stuff to do it easily. And for us, this filter works perfectly on here to where I can slide this on and get the old one off really easy. Next, make sure you don't drop any dirt inside here. When you're doing your oil change, make sure this stays clean. You can you can either choose to fill it or not fill it. That's your option. I choose not to because it pulls enough oil from the oil pan that it fills this in less than a second. So I'm not concerned with it. If it was on a big diesel truck where it had large filters, I would fill those. Usually the size of the filter determines whether or not I'm going to pour oil into it. On a filter like this, I don't waste my time. I just spin this one on after putting a little oil around the seal. That way I know it seals up tight. Make sure you get your drain plugs tight. Make sure that you put oil on this seal. And make sure you dump the right oil into it. This gets to what I'm going to call the last point of this service oil change. Then I'm going to get into the topic that somebody brought up on Toyota's downfall. And then we'll probably wrap this one up for today. Where do you find what oil to put on or in your engine? This is your oil cap. Your oil cap tells you what oil to put in it. If your engine allows you to put alternative oil in it, like a 5W30 instead of a 520, the service manual or owner's manual of your car that can be found in your glove box, or should be. If it isn't there, then somebody removed it and you bought a used car and you don't have it. So then you have to go online and look for this information. But sometimes there is alternative oil that you can use if you're running into oil consumption issues. Because this thing is now going to be driven in warmer temps from pretty much here on out, even past its next oil change, I'm changing the oil. So because the cap said 520, I've looked in the owner's manual and it also gave me an option of running a 530. So this is what I'm going to run. The reason I'm going to run this is a little thicker oil, and this will keep the oil from wanting to escape out of the engine to where I don't have to worry about burning so much oil. At this point, I want to test this. Normally, I would always run what's on the cap and I would never change it. The only reason I'm doing this is to test where that oil's going. If I put this stuff in it, which is in the owner's manual, then I can trust that this would tell me if I have an issue with burning oil. Sometimes we don't see oil burning. Sometimes you do out the exhaust and it comes out in the color of a blue smoke. If it's white, it's coolant. So two different smoke colors will tell you exactly what's going on. Black means unburnt fuel. So if you have a lot of black exhaust coming out, that means you have unburnt fuel. That happens when catalytic converters get built up and it decides to burn that stuff out when you accelerate really hard. The blue means that usually you have either a valve guide going bad or piston rings going bad, and oil is getting into the combustion chamber, meaning that it's burning it that way. You can also have an issue where it decides to re-scavenge the oil through the intake and it starts burning it that way. But that's a whole nother issue, and that's related to the modern 4-cylinder engines and having too high a compression. Newer engines have higher compression. So newer engines have higher compression. The reason that higher compression exists is so that they can get the power out of the engine so they can run smaller displacement engines. This doesn't always save fuel. We've talked about it earlier with the Camaros and the Trans Ams. I'll also bring it back to the 4-cylinder cars. When they start putting turbos on it, they're putting power adders on it. The more power adders you put onto an engine, the more fuel it's going to use, because you're increasing airflow into the engine, which means you're going to increase the fuel going into the engine. This doesn't save fuel. It's actually more efficient for you to have a higher displacement engine and not run a turbo or a supercharger or nitrous, and just go with the straight up combustion engine, and it's way more reliable. You don't have the inconsistencies and the parts failures that you have with power adders. That's why I've never been a fan of power adders. I know a lot of people that are. I know that a lot of times that I've had to deal with power adders, there's usually been an adverse cost to it, especially on the sports car side. You chase the horsepower, you do a turbo, you do a supercharger, the bearings shell out in the supercharger, the bearings shell out in the turbo, and it spits metal all over the whole engine. Now you've not only lost a turbo, but now you've lost an engine as well. So this is why I'm not usually a fan of power adders. I lean away from things that contain turbos and superchargers just for that reason. Now, in a heavy diesel application, you almost have to nowadays. You have to have a turbo. Anyone running a supercharger on a diesel setup, you're doing it wrong. You're going to lose power because of the amount of power that it takes to generate the horsepower with a supercharger. I've already said this in a few videos. I had one person comment this week. Well, what about a supercharger? Superchargers scavenge power, and it becomes an issue of diminishing return. I hate to say it this way, but it really is. So the more horsepower you try to push, at a certain point, a turbo will give you more power reliably without having to rely on the horsepower of the engine to give it, meaning that it's using already heated exhaust to spin the turbine inside to compress the air that goes into the engine. On a supercharger, you're using a belt-driven setup or gear-driven to drive that supercharger. That supercharger scavenges the power of the engine. So yes, it might give you power, but it's also going to lose power versus the turbo. The reason people go with those setups though is because there's a lot less issues on diagnostics and figuring out what's wrong. But as things have gotten better with the turbos, a lot of people now go to the turbos, especially on the small car engine side. Now we're seeing a lot more 4-cylinder turbos. Again, our issues are those turbos might only last 100,000 miles, and we're going to be putting turbos in them. And if we don't catch them soon enough, they're going to grenade and throw engine or metal shrapnel into the engine. So those are things we have to look out for the future. If we have one of those engines, or you have one of those engines, take the time to pull the boot off and look inside there and make sure that the fins are not scratched. If you ever pull that boot off during a service interval and there's scratches on the fins, don't drive the car. That means that the bearings failed in the turbo. And if you keep driving it, you're going to put more metal shavings into that engine, and you're going to destroy that engine. So these are all really good things, guys. I'm dropping solid knowledge. Come on, get my likes up. I want to be at least 20. I'm giving you guys some pretty solid stuff. Give me the 20 likes, and I'm going to break down what's going on with Toyota. Because I have studied this topic. I know one of the mods brought it up. He wanted to know what was going on with Toyota right now. I do know some stuff that's going on with it, but you guys got to get me to 20 likes. All right, we're at 17. 3 more, guys. 3 more likes. While you guys are doing that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my drain plug back in, and I'm going to work on getting my filter out. So you guys. Okay. Little Kia and their blue filters. So a little bit of oil on the seal. I already did that. Yeah, I should be wearing gloves. You guys don't need to tell me that. Where are we at with those likes, guys? Okay, guys, we're at 17 likes. Get those likes up. Come on. I said 20. Let's get them up. Where are we at? We're still at 17. Come on, guys. In order for us to do stuff for you guys in the future with merch and all that other stuff, we need to get the likes up. We're doing really good on the chats today, guys, but the likes have been hurting today. All right, guys, in order for me to get into that topic on Toyota, we need to get it to 20. All right, it's looking like you guys don't want me to talk about the downfall of Toyota here. Okay, so just like that, I filled that oil up. Got the engine filled back up where it needs to be. Put the filter on it. Put our drain plug back in. Tightened all that up. We're at 18 likes, guys. 2 more, and I'll tell you guys about the downfall of Toyota. I know this because I've already studied this. It was something I was going to talk about. But if we can't get the likes up, then I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. So give me the 20. You guys are doing that. I'm going to start this because I need to fill the filter. So I'm going to go ahead and start it. I'm going to get this filter filled up. Get those likes up, guys. Come on. My mods, you guys have been awesome today. Thank you guys so much. Okay, we're still at 18, guys. Get it to 20. I noticed the views have dropped off here. Thank you, Sherlock, for the subscribe. Okay, guys, one more like. Come on, we can get there. One more like, and I will break down the downfall of Toyota. I'll even go back a couple years. Sherlock says, eventually I'm going to do a yearly membership for mechanic, 36 a year. Oh, I mean 48 a year. Thank you very much, Sherlock. And let me know when you do, because anyone who does a membership, I always give you guys wrenches. Every single time. Once you guys do, I give you guys wrenches. Sherlock, you've been funny today. You've been saying some stuff that's really made people think. And yeah, I had to be a little slick with you. I like that. Come on, guys. One more light. I'll break down the downfall of Toyota. I'm letting the Kia warm up now after the oil change so that we can finalize that, but Sherlock says, just keep bringing the knowledge. I appreciate it. That's what I do, man. That's why I'm here. I'm here to be able to bring you guys knowledge, share what I know. That includes the years of things I've done. I've been underneath the hood of cars since I was 13 years old, so I've learned a lot over 3 decades of being underneath the hood of a car. Come on, one more like. I'll break down. Oh, we lost the like. Come on, guys. Hit that like button. Let's get 2 more likes so that we can break down the downfall of Toyota. Okay. 1 more like to go, and I'll break down the downfall of Toyota. Boom, we got it. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, so what you guys just seen me do, let me finish this up real quick and then we're going to get into Toyota. So what you guys just seen me do was run this Kia Soul engine to get it up to operating temp. The reason that is important is because they want the oil to fully circulate in the spots that it's going to sit after an oil change. You need to wait 20 minutes, then check the engine oil level. If you don't do that, you could potentially overfill the engine and it could hurt the engine. So make sure that if you're doing an oil change on a 4-cylinder engine, that you idle it to warm, let it sit, then check it. If you don't do that process, you could damage your engine. Thank you, Sherlock, for being here today. Let me know when you become a member, and I will definitely wrench you up. Like I said, anyone who is a member will automatically get a wrench as long as I verify that they're part of the members. Okay. All right. Thank you, P. Norton, for taking care of that. I also did a timeout on that. Thank you very much. Let's get into the downfall of Toyota. That's what you guys hit the like button. It's the reason why you guys are here. So let's go ahead and do this. So Toyota has gone through some spells. They've gone through issues. You're welcome, Mike. I know that, I'm trying to remember if it was Mike or if it was Jay that recommended this topic about the downfall of Toyotas. It was one of you two. I can't remember which one. But the downfall of Toyota can be linked to a few different situations happening. Number one, their main owner, who wasn't necessarily the founder of the company, he took it over from his father, but what happened is he passed away. This started a downhill chain for Toyota. So when he was there, he was involved in racing. He was really involved in everything that happened with his own company. He actually drove a race car, a Toyota race car. Not me, but I seen the news. It was either you or it was Jay. I think it was Jay. Jay recommended it. So he was heavy into the racing, and he did a lot of research and development. He was responsible for a lot of the Toyota Supra stuff that came out after the 90s. So he was responsible for a lot of that stuff. And he really did welcome in a car industry that loved performance. He was all about it. He wasn't into the hybrids. He wasn't into any of that stuff. He absolutely hated the hybrids. He only did it to be able to sell in certain markets. One of those markets was the US. Because of that situation, it really kind of put Toyota on their back heels. They started investing into this technology so that they could sell in those open markets, but it wound up costing them too much money. In the ultimate end, after he passed, the company started to be ran by the board. The board wanted to push forward with the EV technology and made a lot of bad investments. Those bad investments are turning around now and are hurting the company to the point that they're having to sell off or liquidate some of their lines. Also, this has caused a massive chain effect of them also having issues with recalls. They've had a ton of recalls lately. As far as owning a newer Toyota, I really wouldn't recommend it. They have motor and transmission recalls out right now for Toyota Tacomas, for their 4Runners, and some of their other lines. These recalls have been a big issue. They have found metal shavings in the engines. They have found that the transmission shell out. There's a bunch of different issues that are causing massive recalls to the point that the company is losing money hand over fist. What was supposed to happen, Tundras were included in that too. So the Tundras did not escape those recalls. This has created a situation where they were looking for investors not more than 6 months ago. They had reported that if they didn't find an investor, that they were going to start closing down some of their production. And some of the production that was going to get shut down was the Toyota Supra. We have now found out that the Toyota Supra is done. They were not able to secure their investment for that. And what happened was there were people on the board that were fighting against the potential buyout that Honda was offering to buy them out, which would have potentially saved the company. That deal got shot in the foot. And when it did, what happened was it caused Toyota to have to try to double back and get rid of this. And what happened was when they got rid of those people that were causing this deal to get held up in the first place, I believe it was the current president. They had to actually remove the current president in order to keep the deals with Honda on the board. And when that went down, it killed the deal. So because it killed the deal, Toyota right now is facing bankruptcy. And if they don't somehow pull this together and cut their costs and be able to produce reliable cars that are not eating into their budget, meaning a lot of recalls, then the company will fold by the end of this year. There has been talks already that if they don't secure the funds needed, that Toyota will close the doors at the end of this year. I do think that is a real possibility. The fact that they're running into issues because there's been a lot of bad investments in the EV side of things that have forced them to take steps back are causing a lot of influx within the company. There are people inside the Toyota brand right now that don't understand the original vision that the owners for that company had. And because of that, it's clear that there's going to be bigger problems. P. Norton says, buy new and don't keep past warranty. The issue with that is the more we buy these cars that we don't want on the market, just because we have the warranty, we're going to be dealing with these 10 years down the road. And the biggest example of that right now is Teslas. A used Tesla more than 8 years old is not worth anything because everyone knows that the battery is going to go bad in the next couple of years because the warranty runs out after 10. After 10, you eat that cost of $37,000. This is why it's a buyer beware market, and the more we inform people about this situation and tell them don't buy this technology, because even though you see a short-term gain up front, you're going to have a big cost on the back end. And this was something that nobody talked about with the EV side. I have gotten shadow banned and everything on YouTube for this. I've had it mess up my Facebook, which is where I post stuff for my videos. It's caused problems because I've spoke out against this. The truth is, EVs are not efficient, and they will not offset the carbon footprint of making them over the life of the vehicle. It's actually safer and cheaper for our environment to run natural combustion engines. And that's a fact. The newer emission systems that they put on cars is by far better than anything that has ever been created since the car was ever made. We don't pollute with newer cars. Guys, I was running this in my garage. I'm just fine. I'm sitting here talking to you guys now. That says that the newer emissions work. The problem is most people assume that they'll work. They don't replace stuff that causes check engine lights, and they don't keep their emission systems in good shape. If you don't keep it in good shape, it will also go bad. But I'd rather put in a $1,000 catalytic converter than a $37,000 battery. That's the trade-off. And everyone's like, well, you're going to save on gas. Are you really saving on gas when you pay a higher fuel or a higher tax on your tabs to offset what you're not paying at the pump? We got to wake up to this. We got to wake up to the fact that if we're going down this path, we're not going to save money. They're still going to gouge us one way or another. They're either going to gouge us in a road tax or they're going to gouge us in a fuel tax. One way or another, the government's going to get paid. And it's when I talk like this, which I don't do this until the end of every video, because it always causes problems on my channel. Whenever I speak out about this stuff and it turns political like this, I do get shadow banned. You guys can watch the chat right now. You can watch it fluctuate like this. This is being done on purpose. You guys have seen most of the stream. We've been pretty high. Now that I'm talking about this stuff, all of a sudden, boom, you'll see it drop. That's because I'm telling you guys the truth. I'm telling you guys what I've researched and the homework that I've put into this. I'm not doing this to be mean. I'm not doing this to put anyone off. I'm just telling you guys the truth. But because I do, it does affect my channel, which is why it means so much to me when you guys hit that like button and hit the subscribe buttons, because it does help me to reach more people. The more people I can reach, the more I can tell them about the scam that this really is. And the truth is, EVs are scams. I don't care how you slice it. An EV is a scam all the way across the board. Not only in the higher price to buy them, the higher maintenance cost when they break, but also in the fact that you're not saving any money or the environment. It's a lie straight up and down. But we're convinced that it's better for the environment when it really isn't. You have to look at the process of how those batteries are made and what we got to do to make those batteries. Mike says EV feel good. Yeah, that's basically all it is you're locked into this image of you think you're saving the planet when you're really not. And as long as you're going to be locked into a lie, you're always going to believe the lie until you are shown the truth. The truth is where we get our minerals from is mined in third world countries where people don't care about human rights. They don't care about how they get that mineral out of the ground, meaning they're using equipment that is so old that honestly, we wouldn't touch it in the US. You think they're out there with a cat that is running emission systems on it? They're using something from the 70s that barely runs and that blows so much diesel out the exhaust, it almost doesn't pay to run it. But they're able to sell those minerals at such a high cost that they keep doing it. These are the things that I get in trouble for on the channel, which is why I do them at the end of my videos, guys. You guys will never see me do new stuff at the beginning of a video, because if I do, it wrecks the stream. Kelly says, I own a 20 Toyota Tundra. I live in Central America. I love my truck. Sad to hear that the company is in trouble. Yeah, they are. And they are because they chased EVs and they made a whole lot of bad investments. Huge bad investments. P. Norton says, until you get the electric or electronics, then they won't even sell you the parts unless you're a dealership. Good luck. That's what's happening, guys. Those EVs we can't work on. They have to go to the dealer. Why do you think they get to charge $37,000 to replace a battery? Because no one else can do it. Guys, please hit that like button, man. I know I'm going to take a beating for this, so hit the like button. We have a bigger problem on the EV side that people don't talk about. It's the power. We are going to rely on a power grid that is backfeeding from something else. We use power to power our homes. We use electrical power to power our homes. If we start using that kind of power to power our transportation grid, we're going to cause catastrophic failures. It also creates a situation where there's one weak point. All you got to do is hit the power grid and everyone is messed. This is bad. This is bad from the beginning. I called it from the beginning. I've been saying this for 3 years, at least 3 years. If we go to EVs, we're going to cripple ourselves. It's only going to take one mess up to mess up everything. We don't want to rely on a one source for our power. It's a bad idea. And anyone smart enough knows it. All right, guys. Hit that like button for me, please. I'm dropping you guys some solid stuff, giving you guys information on future stuff. I'm even talking about some of the topics that get me in trouble here. So all I ask for is the like and subscribes. That's all I ask for, guys. I'm not asking for super chats. And I am so thankful for P. Norton becoming a member. That is. Okay, so we got a question from Mike. He is asking, does your car recharge your key fob battery? Why or why not? Okay, so it doesn't recharge your battery in your key fob because your key fob isn't actually attached to anything electrical in the car. So your key fob operates independently from the car. Inside the key fob, there is batteries. Every single key fob has batteries in it. When you open it, you'll be able to get the battery number and replace the battery in it. I may do a video for you guys on how to replace your key fob batteries. I think I've done a little clip one, but I haven't really gone into it in depth, but I can do that for you guys. The reason it can't charge is because it doesn't have the technology in it. Its purpose is to communicate to the car and tell it what to do, but there is no Bluetooth charging feature inside this because it would make the key fob so much larger. And some of it is people put these in their pockets, so they don't want to make them any bigger than they already are. I can tell you right now, the key fob for the Kia Soul is a big key fob. I wouldn't want them to make that key fob any bigger. And if you're putting them in your pocket, you're really not going to like that. So to answer your question, no, they don't recharge in your car. And no, they can't really do a recharge on a key fob battery, because a lot of times they're just running small batteries that you can replace inside the key fob. Usually, if you use your car a lot, you're going to go through a battery once a year. If you don't drive it as often, you might not change that battery in a couple of years. So it all depends. I haven't changed the batteries in the key fob in my Tacoma in a long time. I've put new batteries in the key fob in the Malibu, but that one's got an aftermarket alarm system, so that one gets fussy. And I really wish I could go back to the stock key fobs on that one, because the remote start on it half the time won't work because it won't lock the doors. So half the time I wind up manually locking the doors on the Malibu. I mean, it's still got an alarm system. It'll still shut it down if somebody goes in there, but I don't like the fact that it doesn't always respond. So half the time I'm locking it myself. Seems something engineers could devote a rechargeable battery system. It really wouldn't take much, because some of the newer key fobs, even if the battery dies, you can touch the key fob to the ignition button, and it creates an electrical current that reads the code to allow you to start the car. Some vehicles come with wireless charging stations. Why couldn't they put something in it to where you just put that key fob on that wireless charging station and it'll charge the key fob? I think some of it is because we're asking for such a small package to be able to open and unlock, or lock and unlock our doors, open our trunk, and our remote starts, that they really can't squeeze any more technology into their key fobs. But as circuitry gets smaller, they probably could do something with it. But that is what it is. All right, guys, I've gone on for over 3 hours, and I promised someone that I would spend some time with them. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this stream up right now. And I want to thank you guys for all your support today. It's been a great live stream. I really do appreciate having my producer here today and having all of my mods here today. Guys, you were awesome. Thank you, P. Norton, for your membership. And I will start doing special content for all of my members. You guys deserve it. If you guys are paying a monthly subscription to be with me, you guys deserve to have some stuff. So I'm going to work on doing that for the future. And I will probably even drop stuff to you guys before any of the Facebook or Instagram stuff at all. So you guys are going to get it special handed. I'll answer this one last question, and then I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. Guys, we do this every Saturday at 1 p.m. Central. Make sure you guys hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that notification bell so you get notified when we go live. And as always, I'll see you guys on the next one.